COVID hit and I was like, okay, cool, like 40% of my tenants not paying, I've got no guests stopping in my Airbnbs, what am I going to do? There was a massive need for homelessness. I just felt really led to actually help these people. Within weeks of leaving my job, you just come crashing down. When your back's against the wall, you either sink or you come up swinging. Me as an entrepreneur, I had to really understand the power of letting go to grow.
Have you thought about your exit strategy and what that might look like?
Yeah, 100%.
I have the pleasure of welcoming to the studio Sean Davis. He is a prominent entrepreneur and social housing expert. He's the founder of Urban Housing, and Sean has successfully built a portfolio of over 600 rooms and transformed lives through the process of doing that. A few years ago, he was literally in his bedroom trying to figure out how he was going to feed his family and make ends meet. Things changed, the world locked down, he had to pivot, but he didn't just pivot, he pivoted big. Hey Sean, how you doing?
Hey Marisha, pleasure to be here.
No, thanks for coming in. Now, your story is just massively inspirational. Somebody who has transitioned from a corporate career at BMW to social housing and really made a change. But let's just talk about those moments, because I feel like COVID has been, or the pandemic, was such a pivotal time for so many people for so many reasons. And of course, you were in a space at that point where you were in business, your business was doing well, you were like, okay, I can take the plunge, and then the world shut down. Just tell us about that time.
Oh, a crazy time. And in that experience, I learned so much about myself through those 3 months, more than like years. So everything was going so well. COVID hit and I was like, okay, cool, like 40% of my tenants not paying, I've got no guests stopping in my Airbnbs, what am I going to do? And I think it all comes back to the entrepreneurial traits. Like, the role of an entrepreneur is to, solve problems and create value. I saw that there was a massive need for homelessness. There was a massive need to house people. In COVID, I don't know if you remember, but hotels like Travelodge, they just stopped having guests. There was housing homeless people. So it just shows you how big the demand was. And I just felt really led to actually help these people. And I thought to myself, it's got to be something that I can do.
But just tell me about the mindset that sits behind that, because let's be real, most people, and even me included at times, things happen, trouble hits, and you sit and you think, right, where's the biggest pit of sand that I can bury my head in, because I can't take this is too much.
Yeah.
So what was that mindset that said, no, I've got to figure out a way to pivot in this situation?
Yeah, 100%. So it's a good question. And I think it all comes back to, like, I was in business for 18 months before that, and I really worked so hard to build something. And for me, I just couldn't let it just come crashing down within weeks of leaving my job. I was like, there's got to be something that I can do. And I've always been a very resilient person, so which is a case of, I just believe that when your back's against the wall, you've got 2 options. You either sink or you come up swinging. And for me, I always say to people now, I'm actually glad that it happened to me like that, because sometimes your back does need to be against the wall for you to take massive action. And for me, I had no choice but to take massive action.
Yeah, and I mean massive, because how many rooms did you have available at that point versus the hundreds that you have now?
Yeah, so at the time I think it was just under 100 rooms back in COVID, and no one was paying, everyone was going AWOL, had students moving back into their parents, but then also as well, I had a lot of HMOs at that time, and all my HMOs were like house shares where they basically share the facilities like the bathroom and the kitchen. So when COVID happened, everyone was like, I'm not sharing a bathroom no more, I'm not sharing a kitchen, I'm not sharing a living space with strangers. So I was like, wow, this model now is failing in real time, what am I going to do? And I'm just so glad that I remembered the core principles of like solving problems and creating value, because there's a massive problem. There's so many homeless people calling the office. Surely there must be something that I can do. Surely there must be somewhere that I can give value to these people.
Okay. So the business pivots. You find yourself in a space now where you're actually we can do good, and at the same time make money. What have been some of the biggest learning curves that you've gone through, going from a space of your business doing relatively well, then things having to change, to it becoming a huge machine now?
I think it's all about the team. The team really is crucial. The team that you have, I can't do everything myself, and I think me as an entrepreneur, I had to really understand the power of letting go to grow.
Right.
that was so important for me, and I really struggled with that because when I first started the business, I would be like, let's say for instance, there's a plumbing issue. I'd be like, do you know what? Let me just go to the property and try and figure it out myself. Or let's say we took on another property, I'd be like painting it myself and doing everything. But when I was able to let go to grow and hire people who were experienced in all different levels, I realised actually I can be a facilitator, I can be an actual manager and manage these people, empower them, ensure that they can do their job to their best of their ability, and then I can manage and lead and grow the business. That was essentially when the business started to grow.
In terms of how you feel about moving forward, it's funny, I was talking to another entrepreneur the other day who sold his business, got to a certain point and said, okay, that's it, sold it, and it ultimately sold for 8 figures in the end. I mean, he's a very happy rich man now. Slightly bored, but very happy and rich. And he talked about there being sort of inevitable outcomes for businesses and him feeling like selling was the appropriate route for him. Have you thought about sort of things like your exit strategy and what that might look like? Yeah,
100%. I've always had this number of like, 1,000 rooms, that, and then when I get to 1,000 rooms, I'll make an informed decision from there, like as to like what I want to do. I do think beginning with the end in mind is so important. Otherwise, if you're just running and running and running and there's no end, you can get burnt out, and also you can actually lose that momentum that you've got because it's like what you're working towards. So for me, I always need to have big goals that I'm striving towards, and then from there I can then say, okay, cool, what's the next plan?
What about work-life balance? Because obviously in the mix of all of this, there's family, there's life, there's stuff.
Yeah.
How do you balance that? Or are you someone who is just like, head is only in business and everything else has to wait?
Yeah, I think the work-life balance, it's a really tough conversation because something has to give.
Yeah.
And, if you really want to achieve, great success, you're going to have to make big sacrifices as well. And I feel like a lot of relationships have, to be honest, they've suffered as a result of, building the business, because my mindset has always been, I'm still young, I'm only 32. If I can just sacrifice, a few years and just be tunnel visioned, then I can have a lifetime of freedom. Okay. So that's always been my mindset in terms of, I'm doing this work now while I've got the energy, while I've got the momentum, and then eventually I can sort of, not completely retire, but I can sort of not be so hard working.
Got you.
Yeah.
I mean, but are you one of those people though that has to be working? Like I feel like there are some people who, no, because do you know what? I will say this. People will look on the outside, for example, at me, and they will go, oh, you're a workaholic. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not. I do what I need to do, but that doesn't translate into me being a workaholic. Because let me tell you something. The day soft life turns up, she's going to be happy. She's tired. She's worked hard. But some people are not like that. Some people have to be doing something. The people who say, if I won the lottery, I'll still go to work.
Yeah.
Like, are you one of those people? Are you the sort of person, you'll sell the business or whatever, hand it over, let someone else run it, but still find something to do?
100%.
Yeah. There you go.
100%. And I feel like it's the reason why I'm at this position now, and the reason why things are going well business-wise, is because I fell in love with the process. I really do enjoy the process. In fact, you've got to get yourself to a place where you love the process more than the results. Because what happens when you love the process, the results happen by default. It happens so much more organically. But then more importantly, you have the resilience to push through. So when you're going through the hard times and the hardship, you can just keep going and pushing through until you get to the other end.
Interesting you make that point about process, actually. Because when you're in the process of building a significant business, and I'm sure there's lots of different sort of, I suppose, stages of that you go through, but at what point, or was there a point, where you stopped aiming for something and said, I'm focusing on the process? Or is there always an aim at the back of it? Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, 100%. That's a good question. There's always an aim, because I feel like you need to have something to strive towards, but you need to really enjoy the process. Like, find a way to be able to enjoy the process. I'll give you an example. So like, when I was younger, I was so money focused because I didn't have any money. So I was just like, what can I do to earn money? But I was that tunnel visioned on making the money that I wasn't making anything. I was just so financially broke. And every time I tried to do something, I couldn't catch a break. And the issue is I wasn't focusing on the fundamentals. My mindset and my focus was on the wrong things. Whereas if I was to put my energy into building a skill, get you 10,000 hours in, really hone in on the process, really understand the product and your service, and really become a true expert in that, in your field. I just feel like everything falls into place. The money, the compensation is a byproduct of the work that you're putting in.
Yeah. I'm going to take a break from music in a second, but I do have one question. As you mentioned the word skill, what would you say, in the mix of all your team and everything that you do, what is your greatest skill?
I think empowerment.
Okay.
I'm able to empower a team and keep them motivated and keep everyone happy and doing their job. I think it's all about being self-aware and understanding, okay, cool, there's an issue here. Let's try and get to the foundation of what this issue is and actually solve the problem.
We've been talking to Sean Davis. He is a local entrepreneur who has currently got over 600 rooms available for social housing and is using those rooms to help a lot of people. He is aiming to get to 1,000 over the course of, I was going to say the next few years, probably the next couple of months, okay? Because this man don't play, you know. What he's achieved in the last 4 years alone says a lot. But what's really positive, Sean, is that not only have you done what you've done with your own business, but you're now really keen to help other people. And you're starting to do a lot more of sort of sharing your knowledge with aspiring entrepreneurs. Just talk to me about what inspired you to do that.
Yeah, I think it's really important when you learn a skill or when you've learned something that's changed your life, then you come to a space where actually I can help change other people's lives as well. And the thing is, I've gone through so much of a process to get to where I am today. I just feel like I can help fast track other people now, so they don't have to make the same mistakes that I made, because I've made them one already, and I've like literally got a proven formula now that works moving forward. And I just believe that, you know, in terms of like, I think about legacy a lot, and I think about, you know, the impacts that I can make and the footprint that I can leave on this world. And, you know, I just feel like if I can build a community and help other people, that will help me towards that as well.
What do you feel is like the biggest challenge that aspiring entrepreneurs have at the moment?
I think it's the fact that they want to land on their plate sometimes.
Right.
And I feel like we live in a world where there's so much bad going on in the world, but when you think about, you can become an expert on anything. You know, we could get access to things. We've got YouTube and we've got Instagram and TikTok, and there's so many people that have just given valuable content, and we can become an expert. However, the recipe's there, but you've got to mix it and cook it. That's your job. And some people are not willing to do that. They want it, they have the desire. It comes down to like, how badly do you actually want it?
Yeah, I think fair.
Yeah.
I say fair because I think that's something I've recognised over a period of time. It's like you just have to keep going.
100%.
And sometimes when people say that question, how do you keep going? What other option is there?
Exactly. What's plan B?
Yeah, like I don't understand. What else am I supposed to do? So no, I get that. You talk a little bit about legacy. Obviously, the business will have its own legacy.
Yeah.
You have your son here with you this evening.
Yeah.
You know, part of your legacy. But what do you want your legacy to really look like? You know, Sean, 10 years, 15 years from now, what does that look like for you?
I think when a lot of people think of legacy, they think of, okay, cool, like the assets that you have and the money that you have. When I think of legacy, I think of something a lot deeper than that, because the reality is when you've gone, no one's going to remember the business that I had or the money that I had. What people will remember is the impact that I had. It's the private conversations that we've had with people and the things that we've done, not just on camera, but off camera, to really help someone and really change their life. It could be like a wisdom, so it could be like that you're giving them a bit of a gem, that contact that you've made, all these things, to the point where I'm literally obsessed with it, to the point where I get up every day and I'm thinking, okay, cool, like, what can I do today to contribute to my legacy?
Yeah.
And I think that sort of mindset, it reminds me, do you know what? I help people. And what can I do to help someone today? Because that's what it comes down to, is literally helping people.
Yes, and I suppose clearly for you that's identified as part of your purpose.
100%. I feel fulfilled by helping people, and I feel like if you're a person where you've achieved a level of success, and you know what, when I look at in the grand scheme of things, I've got so much, I appreciate, you know, the recognition you're giving me today, but when I think about where I am and where I want to go, I've still got such a long road to go to, but I am grateful that I am in a position where a lot of people do aspire to be in. So I just believe that I've got a lot that I can give as well. So I think that's really important.
No, I hear it, and I'm going to ask you to give a little bit this evening because we've got people listening, and there will be people out here who have the desire, maybe even are in a space where they go, I'll do the work, I'll put the time in. Would you have maybe 1, 2, maximum 3 sort of top tips that you would give anyone right now who is on a journey, may not know where it's going to lead to, but has, you know, the minerals, as they say, to get there?
I think first one is surround yourself with people that you want to be with. If someone is where you want to be, speak to that person. And I feel like sometimes what we can do is we can mistake our loved ones for giving us advice. Right. So what I mean by that is, let's say your parents, if they're not entrepreneurs, if they don't have a successful business, realistically, you shouldn't really be going to them for business advice. You still love your parents, but if they've got business, they're going to give you the wrong advice. You need to go to someone who has a successful business. Ideally, if you want to be a property investor, go and see a property. Go and speak to a property investor and get advice from them about how they started. Get them to mentor you. Do they have a network? Again, on social media as well. There's so many networking events, business, property, that you can find a networking event in your niche. And I feel like be surrounded with that. And I think the second thing is being on social media can be a blessing and a curse. I've seen so many people trying to compare their step 1 to someone else's step 20.
That part.
And then what ends up happening is they get negged out, and some of it's not even real, let's be honest. So it's all about being authentic, being who you are, and just really going for it. The third one I would say is you've got to work on yourself. I only started to achieve any success when I started to work on myself first. I put myself first, because your business can't outgrow who you are, can't outgrow your personal identity. So always put yourself first, and then ever since I did that, everything else happened organically.
Yeah, fair play. Thank you for that. Great tips, great advice, something that we can take away. I'm a note taker, so I can tell everybody now what I wrote down out of all of that. I wrote down solve problems, create value, be clear about what that is, and let go to grow. I think that's another gem in that, not to mention the 3 tips that we got at the end. How do people follow you, learn more about you, or find out where you're speaking and stuff, so they can come and hear more about what you have to say? Yeah,
on Instagram, like it's @_Shaun, SHAUN _Davis, DAVIS.
Cool. And I think that's the same on TikTok as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, then. There you go. So now you know how to get hold of him. What I would suggest is that you look out for the great messages that he has. Shaun, will you come back when you get to 1,000 rooms?
100%. It'd be a pleasure.
I'd like to know what you're going to do after that. I know what's going to happen next. Now we've hit that 1,000, he's going to go, I'm going to hit 2. But we'll let him come back and say it. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.